See how that mist in between separates? Which goes forward. Let's have one. Straight down. It's most important that these reflections come straight down. Most important. If you go at an angle like this, they don't look right. See, even then, it doesn't look right. Just enough to blend it and give it a feeling clean off a little spot. Let's take some black, Prussian blue, brown, crimson, sap green, all the same colors. Give it no white. Very, very dark. Very dark. Looks black on the palette. liquid light that we had left over. Just put in a little water line. This water line is your separator. It's a light between two darks. That separates it and makes it stand out. All right. We'll just use this big brush. We're having fun. If you've painted with me before, you know that I love to make big trees. So let's do that. I'll use a 2-inch brush today. The old 2-inch brush. So often we avoid this brush because it's big and we're afraid of a lot of paint.
Although it is that which enables us to awaken, is also capable of getting us into perfectly frightful messes. Into all kinds of what must be called feedback snarls, where you know that you know, you can think about thinking, and the moment you can think about thinking, you can think whether your thinking was right or not. Did it come off? Did I do the right thinking? Then you start to worry. Then you start to worry about the kind of thinking you are doing about thinking. And so builds up our peculiar human anxiety. When these creatures that are not self-conscious behave, they behave spontaneously. They just go zoo, zowie, and do what they have to do. And so if it doesn't work, they die. But they don't worry about it in advance. That's that. Magnificent, you see. And human beings have a faint memory, kind of archaic, sort of collective unconscious Jungian style feeling that there was a time when we didn't have to worry, when we could never be neurotic. And a great deal of religion, you see, is an attempt to regain the golden age, the paradise lost. And so it involves, as it were, an attitude of surrender. Be not anxious for the morrow, what you shall eat, what you shall drink, or what clothes you will wear. Or consider the flowers of the field. They don't work, they don't spin, they don't gather into barns. And yet Solomon, in all his splendor, was not clothed like one of those. And so if God clothes the grass of the field, which exists today and is thrown tomorrow into the oven, shall he not much more clothe you, faithless ones? I'm translating it myself to put it in a way that isn't just so familiar that you don't hear it. Now, I mean, that's totally subversive. These words in the Bible are outrageous. Everybody says, well, it's all very well for Jesus and the saints and things like that. For all practical purposes, that's ridiculous. You can't live that way. After all, you've got to plan for your old age. You've got to have a savings account. You've got to have insurance. You've got to have a job. You've got to do all those things, see? So you have to think about that. Why can't I do that? So you see, in this way, the human being comes to reflect upon himself and begins to see that there's something wrong. Now, there isn't. But it's right that he should feel that something is wrong, because it is through this that his capacity for self-knowledge and self-consciousness develops. So you see, there is the sense that somehow or other at some time there was a fall, a point at which we became unnatural. There's a great deal of worry going on about this now because of the rise of the computer. You know this? This is terribly interesting. That a new form of intelligence, you see, has come into the world, which is in certain directions vastly superior to human intelligence. And people are beginning to worry like anything about whether the machines are going to take us over. But we've got to realize that machines aren't... See, machine is becoming a dirty word. Just a machine, mere machinery, you see? But actually, there has grown out of us, through these things, enormous electronic circuits that are new forms of life. And these are all connected with us. They're not separate from us. They're not something like a different order of beings that might come from some other planet and conquer us. The whole development of the electronic minds and brains that we have are new cortexes. See, the cortex overlaps the original central brain. And as it were, when you play this game, you know, putting hands over hands over hands, as children like to play, it's a game called capping. But the cortex caps the central brain that is more like the brain of an animal and enables us to reflect on it. Now, all this machinery that we are making is an extension of our brain and is a new kind of life. But it worries us. And when we start to do that, we get the feeling something is going wrong. There has been a fall. There has been a mistake. And exactly the same sensation, you see, is anciently connected with the development of self-consciousness in the cortex. Something went wrong. Because every time we get that feeling, it means that we've taken a new step in controlling things. Instead of relaxing and letting our wings fly us like a moth or a bird, we now have these jet planes where we have an elaborate system of anxious people, morning, noon, and night, checking it that those things go right. And it's marvelous that they do. Our friend Ralph Johnson, who often attends these seminars, is an American Airlines captain, and he saved a jet the other day in very dangerous circumstances. Fantastic. But here it is. Now, when you haven't yet discovered that the new development, such as self-consciousness, is really a new form of nature, like a branch coming out of a tree, which is a kind of a new development of the trunk. And it's something just as healthy and just as splendid as that. Then you begin to reproach yourself. And say, oh dear, I am wrong. You begin to be alienated, you see, from your own center. But do you understand that being alienated from your own center is a form of, a way of stepping apart so that you can see yourself? Now that's important. That is resonance. See, when you sing in the bathtub, you find you've got a better voice than when you sing in a non-resonant room, because you've got a little echo. You mustn't get too much echo. But just a little echo is resonance, and that's more fun because it's more conscious. If you're happy and you don't know you're happy, see, you're not as happy as if you know you're happy. But if you know you're happy, you may spoil it by getting anxious about it. So this self-consciousness is a kind of resonance. But then you see, when it gets to the point of this terrible feeling, I can't trust my instincts anymore. I've got to decide. I have, as it were, taken over the prerogatives of God. Well, that's a terrible thing to do, because you can't be genuine anymore. You see? You know that when you love somebody, you also want to get as much out of them as you can. You know that when you act as a responsible citizen, you do so as to have a good image in your own view of yourself. It's your ego kick. Only you dress it up so that it's not an ego kick at all, but perfectly sincere public service and charity and good feelings towards everybody. Ha ha! And so then there begins this awful thing, repentance. Behold, I was shapen in sin, and in sin hath my mother conceived me. And so somehow there comes up the state of mind when you appear to yourself as rotten. Some people, when they take LSD, get visions that everything is glorious, you see, and is light inside it. But occasionally people get the vision that everything is corrupt, that all faces are things that are slowly drooling away